come together, feel that rise. Watch the game while the beat flows. At the sports bar where anything goes. Laughter and joy, we're in the zone. On the swivel at the sports bar. Cheering loud, feeling like a star. Good times, laughter and every score. On the swivel, come back for more. Come back for more. Tasty treats and soulful sounds. Feel the rhythm is where joy's found. With every cheer we come alive. Come on in, let's thrive and jive. In this moment we find our groove. On the swivel at the sports bar. Cheering loud, feeling like a star. Good times, laughter and every score. On the swivel, come back for more. Ooh, come back for more. Ooh, come back for more. Tasty treats and soulful sounds. Feel the rhythm, it's where joy's found. Ooh, with every cheer we come alive. Come on in, let's thrive and jive. In this moment we find our groove. Ooh, on the swivel at the sports bar. Cheering loud, feeling like a star. Good times, laughter and every score. On the swivel, come back for more. Swing on by, don't miss the fun. At the sports bar, the best begun. Ooh, come back for more. 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 Come back for more.
Hello, hello, hello. Testing, testing. Hey, welcome to the swivel on the swivel at the sports bar. We got another nice show for you tonight. I don't know how long it's going to be, but we're going to hit a couple of points. Football, WNBA championship, a little bit of baseball, and we're going to talk about some things that's just going on in other sports banter. So we're just going to get this thing started. Of course, most of the things we use is fair use. And of course, I want you to hit the like button if you're on the replay, share the link, subscribe to the channel. And of course, when I used to go live, we had a chat, but now it's, replay. Just leave a comment, emoji, say, I've been here. I want to talk about this topic, that topic next time, whatever you want to do. If you're going to spend any time looking at this, spend some time comment on it. You'll help me improve the channel. Okay? So we're going to talk football, of course. And you got to start out with football, right? The season's in full swing. So let's talk about it. All right. So let's look at this week's matchups, right? And what I do with this one is I pick what I think is the top, 5 games out of this matchups. That most people, if you're a fan of a certain team, you're going to watch it no matter what. But I try to pick out the top 5 teams or games that I think are interesting. So I use that, the schedule, of course. And then, of course, I look at the standings, because if I see 2 last place teams playing, I'm not going to pick those as top 5. Like anybody playing the Jets, for example, or the Titans, or even for the Giants for that matter, or the Saints. I'm not putting them in the top 5. I don't care, what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So here's my top 5. All right. So here's my top 5 games for this week. And I said week 4. Of course, it's not week 4. That's a typo there. Of course, that's week, 7. All right. So, and Here we go. I got the Bucks and the Lions. Right, the Bucks are going to travel to the Lions, and no matter how you slice it, that's going to be a pretty good game. Right, the Colts and the Chargers. That's going to be a good game because the Colts are surprising everybody. Nobody. The Colts are one of those surprise teams that play real tough, and I believe that's where Daniel Jones. Did Daniel Jones go there to revive his career? I think that's right. I got to double check that, but the guy left the Giants. I think he went to the Colts. I could be wrong. But anyway, if he did, he's having a good year, any matter wherever he's at. So I think it's the Colts. The Eagles, well, we're seeing some, after Super Bowl blues in the Eagles, right? Their team is, should still be really good. But, after you win the Super Bowl, they exhaled. They certainly exhaled. Okay. And then everybody who they play is playing to beat the ex Super Bowl champions. So if they're not ready for each and every game, they're going to get blindsided. So they could very well lose this game to the Vikings, who are playing very good football, decent football, definitely good enough to beat the Eagles. And then the Commanders, iffy, they're okay. They should beat the Cowboys, but they are in Cowboy Stadium. Daniels, Jaden is playing okay, but I still have an issue with him being babied so much by his mother, and I don't know if that's unleashing his manhood to really be a leader of men when he's still being handpicked by a woman. I hate to say it, but it's just true. At some point, you got to be your own man in everything in your life to be the kind of leader you need to be. And a lot of people might not agree with it, but I don't give a shit. All right. So, and then the Raiders against the Chiefs. The Raiders against the Chiefs. That should be a good game. Now, the Chiefs need to win games, right? They need to beat the Raiders in this game. And they're at home. I think they're starting to look better. Mahomes is starting to look better a little bit. I'm not going to say they're back in championship form, but they got to string a few more wins together, and then they might be formidable in the AFC. Because we're also seeing some chinks in the armor with Buffalo, right? And then the Ravens. This is from last weekend. The Ravens are pretty much out of it because that's a good segue into my next chart about the Ravens. You know what I'm saying? It's a very good segue to the next chart. And that's the Ravens. They are the number one biggest disappointment of 2025 is the Baltimore Ravens. We can't, there's no way around it. I think since the drop pass in the playoffs last year until now, the Ravens haven't been more disappointing. And they look horrible, especially on defense. I have an issue also with Lamar Jackson. I think he's starting to think again. He's already established the fact that he could throw the ball. But I think he's hesitating from running the ball the way he should, just like second nature. Listen, I know I could pass, but I see 10 yards I can get if I just take off. Hell with what the play was. Hell with my 6th or 7th progression. Let me just take off and keep the drive alive. And that's what he should do. Not because some broadcaster says, you need to stay in the pocket and be a goddamn target for these guys rushing at you. I think he gets hurt more in the pocket than he does anywhere else. So get your ass out and just run, man. Keep the ball alive. And then the other thing he has a problem with, I think crunch time bothers him. Expectations bother him. When people have low expectations of him, he does better. When they have higher expectations, it seems like the pressure gets to him. But the Baltimore Ravens are in big trouble. And the next chart we're going to talk about is that they're 1-5 now. And I want to say this. Since 1970, only four teams have come back from a 1-5 record to actually make the playoffs. Only 4 teams. In 2008, the New England Patriots were 11-5. and they missed the playoffs. They were 11-5 and they missed the playoffs. So right now, let's just say that okay, last year the lowest seed in the AFC playoffs was 9-8. So let's just go with that, right? And say they only can lose 3 more games, right? And that's it. So let's look at let's look at their remaining schedule. And you guys could tell me, what do you think about their remaining games? You know what I'm saying? You know, which games will they win and which ones will they lose? Now, uh, the Bears are going to the Ravens. I got them beating the Bears. I got them beating the Dolphins. However, with them, the way they're playing and they're going to the Vikings, I have the Vikings beating them. So that's 1 loss. Okay. We only got 2 more on the docket. They're going to beat the Browns, even though it's going to be a tough game. They're going to beat the Jets. They're going to probably beat the Bengals at home, right? And then here they are at home against the Steelers. I have the Steelers winning that game. And since they play the Bengals almost back to back, right? And they're going to go to the Bengals off a loss to the Steelers, I'm going to give the Bengals a chance to win that game at home, and I'm going to give that win to the Bengals. So now here's out of the next 8 games, I think they're going to lose 3 of them. So now they're going to have 8 losses. They're going to have 8 losses. All right, so then they go play the Patriots. The Patriots will be in the Ravens Stadium. So I'll give them beating the Patriots, even though the Patriots are better than the Bengals, but they are home. They're going to still be mathematically alive, and they're going to be desperate. I do think they may pull one out against the Patriots. Okay, the Patriots are good, but I don't know if it's real or Memorex. Okay, and then they play the Packers. I think the Packers are going to kick their ass. That's what I think. They're going to go up to Cheese Town, and I think the Packers will kick their ass. Right, so now they're up to 9 losses. And then they're going to go to Steelers, the last game of the season. I think the Steelers will be looking at maybe winning their 11th or 12th game, looking at clinching, the best record in the AFC. I think they're going to run the table. I think they're going to run the yearly table on the Ravens. So I think the Ravens are going to have 10 losses. They're going to be 7-10. They're going to be out of the playoffs. I wish I can be surprised, but does anybody really have any faith in the Ravens right now? Who? That's what I want to hear. So if you see this on replay and you get this far, tell me in the comments whether you think you have that the Ravens are going to pull this season out of the shit heap. Because I don't think so. I really don't. All right, so that's the Ravens. So they're going to be shit out of luck. All right, so the power rankings, they've changed, of course. So we're going to just take a couple of seconds to look at the power rankings going into week 7.
Welcome to CBS Sports HQ Spotlight. I'm Chris Hassel. About a third of the way through the NFL season, and what a wild start it has been. We're going to jump into Pete Prisco's power rankings. And the teams that started 1, 2, 3 are in his 3rd tier this week. That would be the Eagles, the Bills, the Chiefs. There you see them in that 2nd column, 10, 11, 12.
So listen, I wanted to stop it here so you can look at where everybody's at. The Buccaneers have taken over the first. They just switched with the Lions, and the Lions fell back with their big loss. Of course, the New York Jets are last because they're 0-6. The Ravens at 23rd. They don't look nowhere near a playoff team and in the 23rd spot. So just look at this. Washington doesn't look that good on here. The Bears are ahead of them. The New York Giants suck. The Raiders look like they suck. So it's going to be interesting. So let's get to the next chart. And so you can see how they rank first, second, and third tier.
Brand new team at the top for the second straight week. This time, it is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they would be the 1 seed in the NFC. The Colts would be the 1 seed in the AFC. They're down at number 4 behind the Pittsburgh Steelers. You see how we break things up into tiers with the Bucs, the new number 1. And then how about the Lions? Just 1 week there at number 1. They lose, so they...
All right, so there you go. In the NFL, from the game 1 in the NFL, and I think this is one of the reasons why so many people love the NFL, every single game counts. You know, you could make a case that every game in the other leagues count as well. But so we could put it more like in no other league than the NFL does one game count so much. All right, if we got to put some fidelity to that statement. Every game really, really matters, even if it's the first game of the season. And it also depends on who you're playing, because tiebreakers and all that shit comes into effect real early. Anyway, so the Buccaneers are playing well. You got to give Baker Mayfield, who I have as quarterback in my fantasy league, him and Mahomes, by the way, depending on who they're playing, I do switch them up. Because some teams, Baker could throw up a lot of numbers. You know what I'm saying? Even more than Mahomes, depending on the team that they're playing. You know, so then, of course, I got 2 good quarterbacks on that one team. And so now this is the tiers. This is the nice tier. So, and every week it changes. That's why this is so exciting, because a win and a loss moves you. It actually moves you, man. One loss moves you. Okay? So a 1 win also moves you. So I just wanted to show that, you know, so y'all can see that. I'm going to be tracking this every week if I can. If I can find this guy every week, I'm going to track this every week. All right. So what's next? All right. So this guy, so we're going to go to college football, you know, and I need to bring back my other thing, my divider. So in college football, this gentleman here rates the top 10 games every week. And, you know, if you're a big college football fan, yeah, I think he ferrets out some of the best games to watch, because we all know that there's like, what, 20, 30 games. You know, you can watch football all day, different channels. And sometimes you want to ferret out what might be the best game. And so this guy does that job for you. You know what I'm saying? And he does a good job. So I try to catch him every week too. Sometimes you can't find them because they change the titles and shit like that. But here goes. Let's play it. Oh, now he wants to be stubborn. All right, so it ain't playing for some reason. Let's try it again. You know, there's something in there that's giving me some agita. You know, I'm going to try it one more time, and then we're going to leave this behind. But this guy can just go to his to YouTube and put in top 10 college football games of the week 8. And this guy is good. He'll pop. It should pop up for you. So something's wrong there. So I'm done. I'm done. All right. So basketball. We know that the NBA is starting up soon. Next week, we got the NBA to look forward to. And so some more sports for us to be tied to the TV. You know, we know that the TNT team now is on ESPN, I believe. And, you know, Chuck and they all have some negative shit to say about that. But, okay, so let's hear a little bit real quick about what Chuck thinks is going to go on. Man, what the hell? I don't know if I'm being blocked by YouTube or something like that. It could be. It could be.
I think this is going to be a fascinating NBA season. I got zero idea who's going to win the East. I mean, obviously, I think the Celtics are cooked without Tatum and Porzingis and Drew Holiday. The Pacers are cooked without Miles Turner and Halliburton. The Knicks and the Cavs are going to be favored. But let me say this, and this is a big damn if. If the Sixers could get healthy, they could win the East. As far as the West, OKC is a team to beat. But the Rockets, with the addition of Kevin Durant, they're going to be tough, man. The Nuggets got the best player in the world in the Joker. They went out and got him some help finally, but I would still pick OKC. So, man, it's going to be fascinating watching the basketball this year.
He's right. But let's talk about that a little bit. How are we going to stop OKC from having the sophomore blues? They won the championship. There are a lot of young boys and, young men. And a lot of times there's a step back. Now it's basketball, so they're going to win a lot of games. Are they going to have that grit? That's the deal. Is SGA leader enough to keep that grit going? And let me also say, I'm not that big. Listen, Kevin Durant has been moved around. He hasn't really been relevant, if you ask me, since his Golden State days. He's a great player. You can't cheat off of him. But has he helped anybody win anything? Now he's got Wembanyama, and I think he's on Houston. That's what they say. So he's got some players, so it could make the difference. But when's the last time he's been relevant? I'm really seriously one of the greatest players in a while. But when's the last time he's been relevant? So I wouldn't put that much credence in Kevin Durant on that team. But let's see how he does. But as he's still picking the OKC. Okay. And of course he didn't mention anything about Golden State, So anyway, it should be an interesting. Remember now, the 21st of October is the beginning of the season. So that's next Tuesday. And raise your hand if you're going to be watching basketball. You know what I'm saying? We're all going to be watching some basketball. All right, so the WNBA. All right, so of course the Aces sweep, all right, 4-0 in 4 games. Now they won 3 out of the last 4 championships in the WNBA. And I just happened to snatch this poster of Asia Wilson. Now, I have posted, you can go on my channel, Unique Sports Talk, and I did something specifically about Asia Wilson, and I'm saying she should be the highest paid player in the WNBA, and I wouldn't rule out her not getting 7 figures. Now, if you just look at her stats. Of course, people got on my comment section and said, well, nobody likes her. Nobody likes her. She's a whiner. She's this, she's that, and all that other kind of stuff. And that may be true. That actually may be true. I every time I hear her speak, she's saying some female dumb shit, emotional stuff. But the point really is that shouldn't stop her from getting paid. None of that should stop. This woman's amazing on a court. 3-time NBA champion. Well, she's 29. Let's put it this way. Forget me just reading this shit. She's 29 years old. She's 29 years old in tip-top shape and, stronger than most women. Okay, certainly in the WNBA. So over the next 6 years, let's just say she plays to, 35 before she marries Bam Adebayo and they start having kids. And she might retire, because that's the first surprise. I didn't think she was straight. She is. That's one thing. And in the WNBA, I think that's a marketable trade. And so that's one. And let's just give her, the next 6 years. Now, she probably could play longer, but let's just say she plays for the next 6 years. Is she going to win another championship with the Aces? Probably. 1 or 2. How about the league MVP? If she plays 6 more years, is she going to get one or two more of those? How about the defensive player of the year? How about the All-Star game? Is it going to be 5 or 6 more? She's one of those people who's going to just get grandfathered into the All-Star game. No matter, unless she gets hurt, she's going to the All-Star game. So that's 7 is actually 13. Right? So how about the scoring champ? Okay, she's got 2 times. She may or may not get that because if she got a better team, she doesn't have to put all that weight on her shoulders. But we all know if they need her to score 30 points a game, she can do it. Right? How about finals MVP? If they get to the finals 3 more times and they win 2 of them, who's going to be the MVP? Right? Okay, she can't be rookie or the other college. The gold medalist, she's okay, the Olympics are going to be here in Los Angeles, right? In the summer of what? 28? Some shit like that. You don't think that the women are going to win another gold medal? So that's 3. How about her being the Olympics MVP? Is that possible? Of course. And then, listen, all I'm just trying to say is that this woman should be a seven-figure salaried person in the NBA, in the WNBA. And I wouldn't hear of it. I mean, the owner of the team bought the team for $2 million in 2021. Now, I don't believe this number, but Forbes says that the team is valued at $310 million just 4 years later. So I don't care about the revenue that they're generating. Well, I should care, but it's not my money. But if I have something that is valued at that, so that means the other teams are valued a lot higher too. Maybe not as high as the Aces. But you mean you can't cut a check to under the collective bargaining agreement for some of your players that's 7 figures? Or definitely high 7. I mean, over the course of, even if you start out at 6 figures with a 5-year contract, it somehow has to end in 7 figures for this woman. And a lot of people are getting on my case because they don't like her. I said, it has nothing to do with whether you like this woman or not. You know what I'm saying? It really doesn't. This chick is special. That's all you can say. Whether you like her or not, she's special. And guess what? There's at least one man who loves her. So, you miss me with all the personal bullshit about her. And I'm not a big advocate for the WNBA, but when I see somebody who deserves whatever flowers they need to give them, they need to give Asia Wilson some money along with those goddamn flowers. All right, so let's turn to baseball. Okay, let's turn to baseball, man. Early on, everybody was kind of saying, the Dodgers going to meet up with Seattle. Now, it's not over. It's not over yet. But the Dodgers, they have their team stacked. And the Seattle has their team, So is there any doubt that it's going to be a Dodgers-Seattle, World Series? And that's probably the best World Series that we could find and we could see. It'd probably be worth watching every game. So like I said, I'm not a big fan of baseball, especially during the regular season. But when you start getting into the playoffs, when almost every pitch counts and they got all kinds of shit going on, how many pitches you're going to throw and this and that, I'm going to move this guy here and that guy there. It starts getting interesting. So here we are. I like this. If I could find this bracket every week until the end, I'm going to use it. Okay? All right. So if you have some comments and you see this later on, you get this far, put some comments in the comment block. So other sports banter. Now, this is going to be a quick one since none of my buddies showed up. And that's too bad because this is a good one. I wanted to have some conversations with them, but they all knew about it. They all said, the hell with you, man. I ain't coming on your shit tonight. But that's all right. I love them anyway, so it's no big deal. All right, so other sports banter. Here's the thing that Here's the big issue to play to Kyran Lacey. Yeah, first of all, somebody died in this tragic accident that he initiated, even though it didn't look like it. But when you have a 2-lane highway and you're going towards somebody, and even if you move over, the person on the other side could panic, could say, I don't have nowhere to go. I can't go in the other the other side of the lane because now I'm violating the law. Or I can't brake because there's no way I can get out of you coming at me at 70 miles an hour. Right? So they had to rely on him moving over. So there was a latent effect of them seeing him come, and they made their move, and somehow he died, but the person was still panicked, hit somebody else, killed somebody, died. And, so this narrative by his lawyer came out saying, he was 70 feet away or whatever away. But, other evidence showed that the drivers were panicked by his irrational actions. Whether you believe it or not, he still had to have his day in court. And so he gets indicted. And he gets indicted, and because whether he believed the indictment or whether he knows he was guilty, he ends up deleting himself. Okay? And so we have a whole thing a brouhaha that happens that involves Pat McAfee, a couple of other broadcasters, and of course, Ryan Rachel Clark, right? And Ronald Rachel Clark, Race Bader Clark, goes so far without all the evidence to almost allegedly, and I'm saying allegedly for my own sake, accuse the police department of outright lying to put this black guy in jail. So when the further evidence comes out, everybody who said whatever bullshit they said had to apologize. And we're going to have a question on that later on. So God bless this dude. God rest his soul. He didn't do anything malicious. He was just stupid. He was just stupid and reckless. He didn't go out trying to kill somebody that day. But you can't take your car and you can't do shit the way you want to do it on the road. That's as simple as that. And, it's one of the things I told my daughters. I said, listen, we all make mistakes. We just got to make sure we don't make mistakes that we can't come back from. If you make a mistake and somebody dies, you can't come back from that. When I say you can't come back, that means you can't get out of that without paying a penalty that's going to take something away from you. Whether that's years in jail or whatever it is, or your career, or all that kind of stuff, that's your penance. It's your penance, so it's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. All right, so what's next? I just wanted to go down here. I saw this clip, came up on my feed, and I thought I'd just play it just for nostalgia's sake. And some of you young guys never seen this man play. Randall Cunningham. A lot of people have never seen him play.
Three receivers to his left as Cunningham is back. He's being trapped. He ducks under three men. He's looking. He's rolling. He's heaving it deep downfield for Barnett, who leaps and has it at the 40, at the 35-30, 25-20. Barnett's going to score!
2nd and 10. Cunningham is going deep for Garrity in the end zone. Touchdown!
Cunningham comes right. Goes deep for Victor Bailey. He's open, caught, touchdown.
Watch, he's going to roll out here to the right. And I don't know if this is a pass or a launch, but whatever it was a perfect one.
He's going to take off. Now on the run, he throws the ball for Barnett, who has it at the 30. Cunningham rolling. He's throwing. He's going deep. He wants Barnett. He has it at the 10.
He has time. He's rolling. He's loading up. He's going deep for Anthony Edwards, who makes the catch at the 10. He's at the 5.
Three receivers to his left as Cunningham is back. He's big.
Let me tell you, one of the things about these highlights here, they don't come close to telling you that he had a year before he left that was almost perfect as a quarterback. He was unbelievable. You know, Cunningham was never going to go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. But his career is just filled with highlights. And he was, you know, I don't think he ever made it to the Hall of Fame. And I got to double check that, but maybe he did, but because he played so long ago, I don't. Wait, hold on for a second. While I got you, why am I asking? You know, I mean, shit. You can wait a second. Let me just go ahead and ask: did Randall Cunningham make the NFL Hall of Fame? So Randall Cunningham has not made the Hall of Fame, though he's still eligible and recently nominated for the class of 2026. All right. So he's a full-time Pro Bowler. You know, he was named MVP for 2 different organizations. So listen, he's up for next year. So there you go. So now you know. Now you know that Cunningham is bad. If you ever could go back and find some highlights of Randall Cunningham, it's worth looking at a lot of stuff he did. He was a very, very, very good football player. All right, so where we are now. Okay, Stephen A. Smith getting punked. Stephen A. Smith, man, you know what? You know, Stephen A. Smith gets checked by Serena Zaddy. And the truth of the matter is, I think he was wrong. I think Zaddy, you know, there's somebody at ESPN set Stephen A. Smith up to be embarrassed by Zaddy on national TV. Right? I don't know who let this guy on. I don't know how much Ovechkin has, whatever kind of clout he has, but he came on the ESPN set just to embarrass Stephen A. Smith. And he succeeded. But I think Stephen A. Smith, and I'll let you see this clip, I think he was dead wrong. I think he was dead wrong talking about Serena doing a crip walk. Because I remember Serena getting the flack and the accolades, depending on who you talk about, when she did the crip walk at the French Open, when she won the championship. You know, so that's her last vestige of blackness that's left. And so when they asked her to come on out and crip walk at the Super Bowl, Stephen A. Smith thought upon himself to actually comment on it about her being somebody else's wife, and he, you know, wouldn't let his girlfriend. I mean, that was stupid. It was just dumb, man. You know, if the woman's husband ain't saying shit, you know, just shut the fuck up. Anyway, so let's see the little clip of Ovechkin, you know, getting ready to verbally beat the shit out of Stephen A. Smith, and Stephen A. Smith kind of backpedaled and sounded a little kind of flaky. Come on, man. Come on.
Stephen A. Smith, I think you had some marriage advice for me.
Alexis Ohanian is clapping back at any negative comments about his marriage to Serena Williams. Months after Stephen A. Smith said he would divorce the tennis star over her appearance at the Super Bowl halftime show, Alexis, who married Serena in 2017 and shares daughters Alexis and Adira, had a chance to address those comments on live television.
Stephen A. Smith, I think you had some marriage advice for me. Is that right? Or
Well, you know what? Listen. I didn't. People, headlines are headlines. We can get into that another time. But I
was hoping you were going to be here.
I'm no. Oh no.
You hear him sound like Ralph Framden? Like humna. Oh, Jesus Christ!
I'm not qualified. Married? Right. Oh no, not me.
Well, that's now the chick right over here laughing. She was in on it somehow and set this up so she can get at Stephen A. Smith. I think that there was hell to play that we don't hear about, that Stephen is probably getting on everybody around him and let Zaddy over here come at him.
I ain't qualified, my brother. I'm not qualified.
I was going to ask, because you hadn't been married before, right?
I am married.
No, Stephen. Okay. Yeah, because I give advice to plenty of founders who want to build billion-dollar companies. And the reason I do that is because I build billion-dollar companies.
Yeah.
It all started when Serena made a surprise appearance at the Super Bowl halftime show during Kendrick Lamar's performance of Not Like Us, a diss track toward her ex Drake. The tennis pro reportedly dated the rapper around 2015. A day later, Stephen gave his take on Serena's cameo, saying he would divorce her if that was his wife.
If I'm married and my wife is going to join trolling her ex, go back to his ass, because clearly you don't belong with me.
Well, let's stop it right there, okay? Does that really sound rational? Even though, whether she was trolling him or not, does it really sound rational that if there's anything to get a divorce over was her doing the crip walk for 2 minutes out there? And the truth of the matter is the song wasn't hers. It was Kendrick Lamar's. And so they wanted her for star power. But also, it was if anybody knew the history of her crip walking, it was because that crip walk that she did during the French Open, I believe it was the French Open, that she got a lot of flack for. So she said, let me stick it to everybody who thinks I can't do my cultural dance, whether it's ratchet or not. Right? How does the stupid dance like that actually do anything to Drake? Because it's on a diss track song? But isn't that kind of a stretch? You think Drake looked at that and shit said, oh, my old bitch is dancing at a diss track. She's grip walking on my grave? Well, come on, man. And so you're going to say that you would divorce your wife because she crip walks? Then if your wife shouldn't be in the entertainment business. And that's another reason why you ain't married, because that's kind of stupid. So you gotta take an L for this one.
What you worried about him for and you with me?
I gotta get that lick back.
As for Alexis, he had no issue with Serena's performance. In fact, it was all praise. As he wrote on X at the time, some of y'all have no idea how criticized Serena was for this same dance at Wimbledon 13 years ago, and it shows. This is bigger than music.
There you go. It was now French Open. It was Wimbledon. Thank you, Ovechkin, whatever your hell your name is. Well, anyway, so listen, in this one, I got to give it to Zaddy over here. He's right. Not only just protecting his wife, Stephen A. Smith shouldn't be saying any of this kind of shit. If that's not your woman, what the fuck you have to say anything about it at all for anyway? You know what I'm saying? Jeez. Anyway, so that's whether that's a big deal or not. Somebody let my man up just so he could embarrass Stephen A. Smith, because you know what, Stephen A. Smith, he's a company man. Everybody up there doesn't really like him. I can bet. Anyway, so here's my general questions, that I have. And Asia Wilson's contract, it's up this year, I believe. $200,000 a year. That's how much she's making. She's not even making a max contract, which was $245. Which to me is already unbelievable. Okay, so under the new CBA, they're going to set a new max. They're going to set a new max. Should it be 7 figures? They don't have to give that 7 figures to everybody, but with the billions of dollars rolling in, with the price of each franchise exploding, with the competition from the unrivaled, and all of that kind of stuff, they should be able to entice players that if they meet a certain criteria, that they can get high 6 figures or low 7-figure contracts. That'll blow the competition out of the water, right? And it may make some of these players play better to get those contracts, max contracts. So if the ceiling rises, right? So should Asia Wilson be worth one of those $1 million contracts in the WNBA? As far as I'm concerned, the answer is yes. If they try to cap her off at 245, if I was her, I would say, I don't know how bad she needs the money. She's going with Bam Adebayo, who's making $100 million or more. If I was her, I'd walk away. Because they can't pay her 245. She's got to be making. Listen, I wouldn't settle for anything. I'm telling you, she shouldn't settle for anything less than 7 figures. But that might be irrational right away. But she should not settle for anything less than, 500K. And with a graduating skill to 7 figures over her next 5 or 6 years. That's what I'm saying. So whoever has her as their agent, they can't be coming in, because if they pay her 245 or some bullshit salary like that, with all the money coming into the WNBA, that's crazy, especially with the numbers she's putting up. Now, if she was just a little bit more likable, people are going to want to see her dominate the league the way she has. So that's enough of my Asia Wilson praise. I didn't even know who this goddamn woman was until the Caitlin Clark era made me start watching WNBA basketball. But the numbers don't lie. So somebody in that, she's the person in the league that stands above all others. Even Caitlin Clark, maybe she doesn't bring in the bodies, but the skill level, you need people, you need both. You need the fashionista like Angel Reese, who's more enamored with her own glamour, but she's playing WNBA basketball. You need Caitlin Clark, the white woman, who has skill above a lot of people. She's never going to be Asia Wilson. She doesn't play that kind of game. She don't have that kind of size. But she brings in the bodies. She puts butts in the seats everywhere. And then you have Asia Wilson, who, if for nothing else, you want to see how bad she dominates everybody else. You put those together. You make those work in harmony if you're some commissioner worth your grain of salt. They don't have to like each other. But you got those extremes where you just fill in the blanks and make people say, I want to see how that shit works. And then you blow the WNBA up. It means in terms of popularity. Just to make it clear. Popularity when I say blow it up. Anyway, so that's that. Enough of Asia Wilson. Hey, listen, you know what? I'm a fan. What can I say? I don't care about your personality. I'm looking at your skill level, and I'm a fan. You got me hooked. Anyway, and then, of course, Ryan Clark. And when I put Ryan Clark, which, you know what? I did a spell check. These bastards didn't catch that. You know what I'm saying? But the point really is that Ryan Clark, how many times does he get to apologize for being an asshole? Listen, when he does analysis, when he first came on the scene, he did football and sports analysis. Okay, he's nice and calm. He's got good diction. He speaks the King's English and all that good shit. But then when he started to become a race baiter, where everything he sees is in terms of black and white, and then he panders to women like fucking Derek Jackson. Even when the women are wrong. It's just a bit much. And so this last case with Karen Lacey, he overspoke without getting all the details, because he was so quick to say, the police want to just put another black man in jail. They don't really have to work that hard to put black men in jail. Unfortunately, too many black men volunteer for the goddamn job. So anyway, so should he be fired? Now, I'm not calling for nobody's firing. The fact that Ryan Clark hasn't been fired is cool. But his legacy, and maybe not legacy, but his benefit and it to ESPN is definitely waning, right? Because when people look at him, they look at him as a controversial figure that they can't like, especially white people or white men. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is because ESPN's audience is still primarily white. He doesn't have to appeal to them by kissing their ass, but he just talk about sports, man. Just talk about what's going on. Everything ain't every issue ain't about black people, even if we're involved. It's not about our skin color sometimes. And we can't get there with the liberals and these people. Sometimes if a black person's involved in something, it's not a racial issue. It's because we're involved in something. Whatever is good or bad. You know what? I'm trying to say, well, you're the first black guy who picked an ant off the ground. Oh, shit, man, let's celebrate. Or you're the first black guy who, got cuffed by ICE agents, trying to clear a building, saying, listen, I got to make sure everybody's under control. Then I'll let you go after I know what's going on. That's just standard procedure. So anyway, enough politics. Hey, listen, my other channel is Marriage, Politics, and Sports, where I conflate all those things have intersectionality. So that's another channel you can go to and see me there. That's my oldest channel. But this is my 3 questions. I don't know if I would say some people want him to be fired. I'm not one of them. I think he needs to be checked. Of course, I keep putting this fight coming up. This could be a good fight. Fedora is so much taller than Thurman. Thurman, I think, is a little overrated. I think Fedora is going to knock him out before the fight's over. That's on the 25th. Okay, so we got some other fights on Netflix, which is cool because I got Netflix. On November, let's put the October fight. Fedora and Thurman first. And then, of course, Tank Davis and Jake Paul in this farce of a fight on the 14th of November. One guy is so much bigger than the other. I have a feeling that's just going to get canceled before that fight happens because it just doesn't make any sense to me. And then I'm telling you, on the 22nd of November, hopefully one of the major networks will pick this up because I can't pay pay-per-view for anything anymore. Benavidez against Yard is going to be a very good fight. It's going to be one of those fights. Some great fights are coming up again, people. Great fights are starting to happen again. And now that what's not here is that Dana White is going to get into, I think he's going to expand into the boxing world. And if he does become a promoter or take over any of the belts, he's not only going to revolutionize boxing because he's going to make the best fighters fight the best fighters or they're going to lose their fucking belts all the time. That's what's wrong with boxing. The best fighters don't fight each other. They don't fight enough and they don't fight each other. And that's all people want to see. And you know what? And we said, well, if I lose all credibility. Not if you fight a good fight. How do you think you get a three fight unbelievable series with Ali and Frazier? How do you get those kind of series without, guys saying, hey, listen, I'm not just because you lost doesn't mean I don't want to see you no more. So listen, every fight you fight, it's not going to be a mega fight or else you're not going to fight. Now 1, 2, or 3 years pass before we see you. And then we're going to see you at half mast because you haven't been fighting for a long time. That's what's killing boxing. Anyway, so that's it for me today. Hit that like button, man. If you spend any time listening to this shit, hit the like button. Share this with some friends. Tell them get their asses over here to my channel, Unique Sports Talk. and, subscribe to the channel, and comment on the replay. If I start to build up a rapport with some folks, I may go live once in a while again, or, I'll have some people come up, and even though on the replay, people will get a chance to see your opinions because I'll give you the link to StreamYard, that kind of stuff. And we'll see if we could expand some of this thing. But I need your help to do that. So if you listen to me here, then you've gotten through this whole video. And so you might as well do what I say. Of course, fair use for all the stuff I used. And welcome to, farewell from On the Swivel at the Sports Bar. We're done for the day. And I'll share my outro with you. And until next Wednesday at 7 o'clock, peace.
Grab your friends, it's time to play. Join the fun, we're here all day. Watch the game with drinks in hand. On the swivel, let's take a stand. On the edge of our seats, we live for the thrill. In this moment together, we're feeling the chill. So here's to the laughter as we gaze at the stars. We say goodnight from the swivel at the sports bar. In the flicker of the screens where our spirits ignite, let's cherish this time as we fade into light. Bites and big screen thrills. Every moment gives you chills. High fives and cheers, it's quite a sight. Join the crowd, it feels so right. As the game goes on, our hearts beat as one. Memories in the making, oh, this night's just begun. So here's to the laughter as we gaze at the stars. We say goodnight from the swivel at the sports bar. In the flicker of the screens where our spirits ignite, let's cherish this time as we fade into light. So good night, my friends, till we meet again. In this world of the game, through thick and through thin.